be conscious of his injunctions. And it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who says in Quran, which is Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 168, Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba wa la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. We have two criteria that needs to be used to see which food fits in for a Muslim. The food has to be halal and it has to be tayyib. Alhamdulillah, we always ensure that our food is halal. But what we, generally speaking, we feel miserably is whether the food is tayyib. And even describe tayyib as food that is nutritious, food that is there to build your body, food that doesn't contain toxins. And if you take this tayyib and measure it with today's food, you can see a lot of foods do not even qualify to be described as food for the Muslims. And I'll give you an example. Sa'd radiallahu anhu was asked about white flour. This is in Sahih Bukhari, book number 7, volume 65, hadith number 322, 325. When he was asked about white flour, he said, we do not use white flour. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ never used white flour. Because if you take white flour as it is, it's not in sync with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described as a whole grain. وَالْأَرْضَ وَضَاهَا لِلْأَنَامِ فِيهَا فَاكِهَةٌ وَالنَّخْلُ ذَاتُ الْأَكْمَامِ وَالْحَبُّ ذُو الْعَصْفِ وَالرَّيْحَانِ. And so, grain has to be whole. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being the designer, has ensured that He coded the grain as we see it with so many factors in order not to overtax our pancreas. We have the gram. And then we have, after the bran, we also have the germ. And between this, you have chromium, you have thiamine, you have fiber, you have vitamin B. In order to what? To ensure that when it gets inside your body, when you eat, mashallah, it goes in smoothly. White flour, which the Prophet ﷺ never used, and some said as exhaust we don't use, which means by extension it's not our food. Because it's halal, but it's not tayyib. When you strip the bran, you take the bran, now you have the germ as it is. The endosperm has been separated. So now you have white flour as it is. It tastes good. It looks good. It tantalizes what? The taste bud. But is it good for the body? No. But this is something that we've been eating day in, day out. Now we have 1 month intensive training. What? To tame our taste buds. MashaAllah, just as we trying to revive our bodies spiritually, it is also time to look at it physiologically and biochemically, so that we take care of the body because it's a man. It has now been, according to latest research, the most effective way of detoxifying the system, and these are non-Muslims. They say the most effective way of detoxifying the system is what? Is to fast. And they say the best is to fast what? 6 times in a month. And we say Islam is ahead of the curve. The Prophet ﷺ said we should fast 8 times in a month, Mondays and Thursdays. And in the month of Ramadan, we have the whole month to cleanse the system. Sugar. Sugar starts as what? As a whole food from sugar cane. And by the time it goes through all this process, you have it very nicely, cheaply, and it was very dazzling. It's halal, still halal, but is it really tayyib? Now if you tell a brother to use whole grain, what is in the form of whole wheat, amaranth, quinoa, buckwheat, lentils as they are, the brother says it doesn't taste good. But did you know that even during the process to have a white flour in it, they put chlorine? The same chlorine you put in a detergent to wash your clothes. And so does it really work? Soft drinks containing what? Is loaded with sugar and man-made what? Chemicals. You have different different types of colors. And these are man-made. And so when you take it in, the body doesn't know how to metabolize it because it's not part of nature. And for 11 months, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed the body to do what? Self-healing. If not, wallahi, none of us can actually survive today. But with all these that we've abused the body for 11 months, this is 1 month that we need to detoxify it. And so we have to shift a little bit of having what? More halal food and tayyib at the same time. And so we shift more to what? Natural foods. If you look at foods that we eat, most of them are packaged foods. And since they are packaged, the company will ensure that they add what? They add what? Preservatives. To prolong what? The shelf life. And that is not to your advantage. It's to their advantage, not to our advantage. And so when you go to buy food, it's their interest against your interest. Basically, that's what it is. And so please, we should try as best as we could to eat foods that are natural, so much close to nature. And when we do this, we should also be very selective. Foods that are mentioned in Quran and Sunnah. When we take these foods, they will help detoxify the system. In Surah Al-Insan, for instance, ginger is mentioned. Why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give ginger? Even though we know that it is something different, but the name ginger tells you that you have a copy right here. Ginger contains over 100 compounds, and it is one of the most effective ways to combat inflammation. And they are telling us today that the active component to do the job is called zingiber. But zingiber is not an English word. So what did they get the word from? If you go to Surah Al-Insan, وَيُسْقَانَ فِيهَا كَأْسًا كَانَ مِزَاجُهَا زَنْجَبِيلًا. This is where they get the word from. And now they are making good use of it. As Muslims, we read each and every day, we're not using it. The Prophet ﷺ has discouraged us from using what? Garlic to come to masjid because of the strong smell. Right. But at the same time, he encouraged Ali radiallahu anhu what? To use garlic. A source of allicin is compounded with what? Sulfur. And it does a lot of harm to virus and bacteria. Actually, some of studies have shown that some of antibiotic resistant, some of the viruses that are resistant to some types of antibiotics can't withstand the onslaught of garlic. Turmeric, a source of curcumin. We have cumin. We have black seed oil.
People can't hear it. You can't hear it.
Black seed oil. Olive oil. We have all this mentioned in Quran and Sunnah, and yet we prefer to have what? Processed oil, which actually offset the balance of omega-3 fatty acids and omega-6 fatty acids. And this is not to our advantage. 1 month has come whereby because we are not eating, the body will be forced to take fat to use as what? As energy. And in so doing, it actually helps detoxify the system. All the toxins that have been accumulated in our fat cells or adipose cells are now being what? Being cleansed. And so we have 1 month to take care of our body. Please let us try as best as we could to shift a little bit to what? Natural foods. And all these packaged foods and highly processed foods and too much oily foods and fried foods, mashallah. We should try as best as we could to shift a little bit from those. So that, inshallah, just as we actually reviving the system spiritually, also biochemically and physiologically. We take care of the body, inshallah. And when it comes to balanced diet is when you have a moderate proportion of all these foods, be it carbohydrates, fats, protein, mineral, and vitamins. And how do we easily get these? We get them from natural foods. And we should also know that the fact that we did not eat lunch as a result of fasting doesn't mean that we should make it up in the evening, because some of us do that. In the evening, the person will ensure that he mixes things up. And so the person will eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And even though the Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said that we should eat moderately, in the hadith of Ibn Majah, the Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said, the worst thing you can do is what? To fill your stomach. And if it needs be, you should divide it into three. One for food, one for water, and one for respiration. This hadith tells us that you need as much water as you need food. Today we eat a lot of food and we don't drink enough. And that is not to our advantage. What we should be doing is actually help the heart, which is the chief organ, and help the kidneys. And if there is one thing that helps them a lot, is what? Is water. The Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said, is the best drink in this world and the hereafter, subhanallah. And after all, we are what? وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Life thrives on water. So we need water. Now, during Ramadan, right after breaking your fast, you need to drink a little bit of water, and then later on drink water. Maybe during Taraweeh or right after, drink water. You ensure that by the time you are about to sleep, your urine has turned from deep yellow to what? To amber, or somewhere light yellow, so to speak. And that your body now is telling that I am now hydrated. But you shouldn't drink just a little bit water and then the next day we continue with the whole day's fasting and then drink a little bit water. It's not to our advantage. We should try to what? To hydrate the body, because that's what life thrives on. And when it comes to, mashallah, we have different cultures and we should be having different preferences. So I don't want to make specifics, but when it comes to balanced diet, you look at what you normally eat and shift more to what? To the natural foods, the whole foods. If you are, mashallah, in your diets, you, mashallah, you want to have some bread, then shift more to what? Either whole wheat, organic whole wheat, you have amaranth, you have quinoa, you have flaxseed, all these, you have buckwheat. These are very healthy bread. But some brothers will say they don't taste good. At the end of the day, it's not what tastes good. It's actually what helps the body. That is because that's all what you got. And what? كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٍ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. The body is amana. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold us responsible for what we feed the body. Because He clearly instructed us to eat halal and tayyiba. And so when it comes to eat food, we should put it between these criteria. I hope brothers are clear with my message. There are sometimes, different accents, some people not catch. If you don't understand anything that I said, please feel free to ask. I'm going to stop here if you have one or two questions. But basically, these are ways to what? To help heal the body, to help detoxify the system. And now that we have Ramadan, it will help calm the system because we become God conscious. So that means we'll have less stress, because most of us, we are stressed up. We have pressure here, and those of us who are immigrants, we have pressure back home. Here they're telling you to bring, back home they're telling you to bring. And then your boss is threatening you, and then you have this bill to pay, and then your children are being stubborn. We all have all this stress, and now comes Ramadan to what? To put things in perspective and understand this is part of what ibtila. This is part of test of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now when we distress, or we are less stressed, and eating whole foods and having Ramadan, that will help distance us from so many diseases. diabetes,